We got Dan in here today?
Yeah.
Dude, oh my God. Tag team back again. Here we go. I love it. Well, thank you, Dan. Thanks for making it, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
We generally like to start somewhere around like 204, 205. Give some people some time to get in here. How's everyone's week going so far?
Good. A good week.
Has been a good week, starting strong. I just got out of a massage, man. I was thinking, I was like, I gotta change these massages right before a 1 hour group call. That was not the time. It's like getting shot in the ass with a
Was it,
tranquilizer dart. And
was
then
it a Robert Kraft kind of massage
I
or just the
wish.
normal?
I wish. It was yeah, I go twice a week and I get these massages. They're so good. You'd be surprised how much you're hurting whenever you can go in and be like, yeah, actually, funny you should ask. Right here is really bothering me. Please annihilate that.
Correct. I have someone that I met that used to come to the house when I worked from home a lot. And I played a lot of golf. That he was phenomenal. That he made golfing, didn't hurt as much anymore.
Yeah, I know. I'm a video gamer. And so I have my own pains that I have to deal with from doing that. I actually came up with this great business model for my massage therapist. And I was like, the way everything like we love customization, right? And I think that we could probably
Hmm.
apply this to even our real estate business, right? If it feels customized, like even when I would make table visits in the restaurant, I would be like, I could do this exclusively for you, right? Like everything was
Right.
like me extending favor, you know. Um, I forgot what I was saying. The restaurant threw me off.
Customizing it,
Yeah, customizing what though? I forgot it all.
the massage.
Service,
Oh
basically.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. So thank you so much, Kathy. Um, really appreciate that. But so I'm sitting there and I was like, you should give massages based off their hobbies or based off their professions, like the desk job, right? The gamer, right? They, because the massage therapist, they know where you hurt. And if you walk in and you go, man, I am sitting, because the other problem with a lot of people that go get massages is they don't realize that it is their habits that are hurting them. Right. And
Yep.
so it's like a double awareness because they're like, oh, I've got this problem. No, you don't have a problem. The problem is the habit. Right. A lot of times when I first started getting muscle cramps and I started nodding, I thought I had an issue. My issue was water intake and not enough stretching, was really the issue. But, when you name the massages after the hobbies, it creates awareness around what they're doing. And you now know how to treat them. And they feel like they're getting something that's exactly what they want. So I thought
Right.
that was
Stretch Zone does that. Oh, do you play golf? Okay, well, we have to help you more athletic or bendy or whatever they want to tell you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
So
it's
yeah,
all the
it's
same
kind
shit.
of mixing. That's right. It's like mixing almost physical therapy, right? It's like, because I think some
Hmm.
people they go to these appointments and then they don't realize that the outside habits is what makes it worse in there. So if you can make adjustments, then like I still like to get massages twice a week because I like laying down and being relaxed. And I don't know if you guys can relate. I'm not very good at relaxing myself, so going somewhere and like forcing myself to lay down with my face down while the best massage therapist I've ever had just goes ham. She's a little brutal though. I'll tell you, she'll make you regret in a heartbeat. I'm like, yeah, my hip hurts. And she's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah. But no, it's good. But awesome, guys. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming in. Thanks for listening to the massage stories as we get started. Um, no happy endings and all happy endings all at the same time with these massages. But but no, thank you everyone so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. We're back in the zone. Joe actually just called me earlier, right before this. Thank you, Joe. It was nice chatting with you. And, you know, it's really cool. What I noticed is happening, you know, we have Mason McDonald, we have Francisco, we have Joe, we have these other people. And then Dan is even blessing us. Dan Habercost is here today, which is cool. He's even blessing us with his presence. And what's happening is we're getting, I noticed like additional leaders in the room and leaders in multiple aspects. You know, Joe has a career of sales and he's been able to take that career and apply it to the obstacles he's run into in and land. And, you know, the last meeting, he had some great advice when it comes to splitting land and when it comes to land without road access and how to make that more attractive. Very cool. You guys can check out that recording last time. But what I love about that, and that's what I told Joe today, was, you know, his involvement, his encouragement. You know, we're all leaders in some aspect. So if you do have the answer to someone else's question, it doesn't just have to come from me, Francisco, or Mason. Right. So I just want to share, if you guys do have the answer, you have encountered something, feel free to shout it out. Feel free to share that experience, good or bad. You know, when I was coming up as a restaurant manager, you know, I used to say that learning what not to do is way more valuable than learning what to do. You know, because there's 1,000 ways to do it wrong too. You know, so working through all of that. Right, we'll get started here on your guys' real estate business. We had a big week last week. My team generated a ton of leads. So I absolutely love to see that. I know I met with, I think, 4 clients last week, back to back, that all said that they had properties under contract. So I know that love is in the air. I know the big things are happening, but if you guys want to share with me how's everything going with you? If you guys have any pressing questions in your business or anything like that. And in the upper left, I have Donna. Donna, if you want to go first, if you have a question for us, feel free.
So we started with you guys, last week is when they really started coming in. But so we aren't really getting anything on what they've been calling. And I was actually going to set up a time to meet with you, but I can ask you the quick question now. We picked, because we were kind of new to it. I shouldn't say new to the state we were going to. We picked counties within that mile radius and stuff after watching your video, but don't really seem to be getting a lot out of that. We set it up for over 4 weeks. Can you pivot and change during that time, or once they pull it, you're done? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So what that is one of the perks. I mean, there might be a cost to that. You know, if we're mid-campaign, I help lessen the cost of it, right? You know, so if you like want to pivot, let's say we're halfway through, but we already pulled all the records, right? But we still do OU calls and texts. So it's if we pulled the records, especially DataTree, because they charge me too. Then we would charge you, but I would make sure it's discounted. It's not the usual that you would see on the website, just to get us through this campaign. So if you want to pause and pivot, we can absolutely do that. And we could do that for you at a discounted rate, and only for the list and skip, which is the cheapest part of what we do.
Okay. Should I set a time to like speak with you more about what we can do or what we should be doing? Just look at time on your calendar. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll actually put it right here in the chat.
Okay.
For everybody. But this is the same exact link. If you guys wanted to like bookmark this is the same exact link I send in every email every Friday. So you can bookmark that link. And if you ever want to have a one-on-one call about your campaign, what my team does is they will then create a investigative report. That's like a KPI spreadsheet, basically. And then I will cover that with you live on that call. And then we'll troubleshoot the campaign, and we can go over new strategies too.
Okay. Well, we are definitely diving into land, which is, I know that's kind of the specialty with this group. So I'm excited to learn from everybody on that. But I think our biggest challenge is really getting the system set up. I had messaged yesterday about the VAs that you guys have. Okay, that was me that was texting about that. So I'm looking for someone. I need a nerd. I need a geek I need somebody to go in and help me set my systems up, because that is not my forte.
Right.
So
and then when you say set those up, you mean in the CRM?
Yes. I mean, I need help getting the website set up in the CRM and all of that, because I have a Go High Level system, but I ended up signing up for the one that you have because I felt like, well, everything's in there already done. but it's still, when I get in there, honestly, I just completely just paralyzed with it because
Sure.
I'm not sure where I need to go next.
Well,
So that's a challenge.
and then what we could definitely do there is I could pair
Mhm.
you up with Francisco. Okay.
Okay.
You guys could knock out just like a Zoom call, just like this. Francisco is actually a Go High level expert.
Okay, perfect.
Especially since you're using our CRM anyways. And
Mm-hmm.
then we can start to demystify, because it sounds like what you need, a VA to me would be like ongoing
Mhm.
effort, right? But it sounds like what you might need is just like an initial setup
Mhm.
kind of thing, and maybe even understanding of something that might already be set up inside of it too. So,
Right. Okay.
so what I'd love to do is I'll pair you up with Francisco. He's kind of our resident Go High level expert. He can answer some of your questions and maybe weed out some of the fluff. The other thing about Go High level is there's a bunch of tabs, and as an investor, you really only need to live in 3 of them. You know,
Mhm.
and that's like dashboards, opportunities, and communications.
Mhm.
I think it's called, and that's where all the text messages are.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll get you with him, and then that would be great if we could even use that video almost as a training for others as well.
Okay.
If you'd
Sounds
be
great.
open.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. And then book that call, and we'll talk about the curveball and the campaign. And
Mhm.
in the meantime, if you want, you could email us, tell us to pause your campaign until you meet with me, and
Okay.
then we can do that too. And
Okay, sounds great.
and that also works for everyone too. Like, this isn't special instruction for Donna. If anyone has a campaign with us, hey, pause. I want to meet with Nick. That way we're not plowing through your marketing dollars while you're in question about the campaign. And that's the perk of us too, right? That's, there's no direct mail company. You pay them the next day, you're like, no, no, no. They're like, oh, it's done. It's done. We're gone. So with us, doing it that way is smart.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Hi, Christopher. What you got for us, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much.
Yeah, so I've got a situation with the seller. One of my other mentors told me to, because he was interested in seller financing. And I don't know a whole lot about, I've never done a structured seller financing deal. But my mentor took a look at it and didn't seem to be interested, or he didn't seem like it was, I guess, a fit for that kind of situation.
Yeah.
But so he suggested that I reach out to the builders who built, there's 3 new construction houses on the street over. I wasn't able to contact the builders, but I got in contact with the agent who listed them last year. And it's 5 acres. I've already spoken to the county. It could be subdivided. There's room to put 2 houses on it because there's enough road frontage for 2 houses. And I've been told that it's, I guess, a general rule of thumb that builders want the land of what the house is worth at about 10 to 15%. Is that right?
What was that question again?
So let's say if it could be subdivided into two parcels, fit 2 houses, and the houses are worth around 290 to 300,000. So could I do roughly $600,000 divided by or times 15% and get like a rough estimate of what the builders might pay for that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. What you're doing is you're like, hey, I'm proactively working in the builder margin.
Uh, I was transparent with the agent, like, hey, I'm negotiating with the seller. I might close on it. I'm open to the to the possibility of assigning it. Wondering if your clients might be interested in it. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But she was kind of iffy about, I guess, where I was coming from. She was like, brought up the fact that I'm like might be brokering the deal, and I'm like, no, just I can either double close it or or just simply assign it to you guys. She seemed interested, but she also kind of like brought up the whole brokering thing, and I was like,
Right.
So I have a question. So you're subdividing the land, 2.5 acres. Basically, they can only put 1 house for 2.5 acres?
No,
That
no,
seems,
they can put two houses, so one house on each 2.5 acres.
correct. So each house, one house on each 2.5 acres. That just seems like that's,
A lot of
what
land.
county is this? Is it in Florida? That seems for 2.5 acres, that seems only able to put one house. That seems like a lot of.
Well, you need 150 feet of road frontage for each property. And there's only 368 feet of road frontage total.
I see. Okay. And
So
then the other
Chris,
question is,
Oh,
do
go
you
ahead,
not
Deb.
do land comps
Sorry, what's that?
when you're doing you're figuring or trying to figure out pricing for the builder?
Right.
Are you doing land comps?
Yeah, I've done land comps. That's one of the comps I've seen. I think the cheapest on market is around 5 acres has gone for. I think it was like 5.33 acres was like 87.5. So I think on market on the low end they're going for around like 85, 87.
And
I was
But
trying to figure out the
I
15%
could
of
buy-
what the house cost is.
Okay,
yeah, Chris, you got to
I was
talk
trying to
to
figure
a
out that
local expert.
strategy.
Yeah, like the market I build in, builders pay 5% of the build cost on average for the
Right.
lot, sometimes even less. It's just there's not a standard. There's a standard per market. It's not a standard across the country. So you need to find the local expert because trying to comp this too, there's what it's in Florida.
I'm in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, especially west or east or the approximate part of the what part?
West Dixon.
Okay, I'd have to pull that up. But yeah, you're gonna need a local expert, especially there's just so many nuances and subtleties of every market. Especially, I mean, unless you've done, dozens and dozens of deals here, you can really get yourself in trouble because what you're looking at may or may not be a comp or may have something others don't. I would, doing this business across the country just is not feasible without locals helping you.
And one thing
Yeah,
one thing I would say too is we call a lot of builders. They're very willing to talk.
Yep.
It's not anything you have to pry any information out of, right? I mean, it is their business to find lots and build. So we actually cold call for builders and then get their criteria for a couple of coaches across country. And they're and it's not me pitching it. I'm saying if you came up with 10 builders and you called them, that would probably give you at least what you're looking for as an easy offload strategy, right? I mean, I think we all know that builders is the easy offloading strategy, not the most aggressive strategy for profit, but it is an easy automatic offloading strategy. But you would at least know your floor, right? That would be your floor offer because builders generally pay the least because they have to take on all this other liability. But that would still show you the minimum of that deal as well. So I would say, reach out to 10 builders in the market, let them know, hey, what do you guys pay? I got a couple properties in this zip code, right? Feel free to be vague about it. What's going on over there? And they're also might be super knowledgeable. If they're a good builder, they're going to, over there, yeah, they got spotted owls on that land over there. Yeah, it's like they'll actually educate you a little bit too. And then you end that conversation with, well, hey, I do this all the time. I come across that all the time. I'd love to create a better relationship with you guys too. So you could start off inquiring and almost in a comping call and then end up, working on turning them into a buyer from you as well.
Well, Nick also, he could, because he reaches out to the builder, that agent kind of gave him a little bit of, well, you're brokering and all that, and she's getting all weird. The builder's gonna say, yeah, I just had a person ask for a lot in that subdivision. He doesn't need his agent. He buys it from your guy that's asking you the question and you're done.
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the other piece too.
Make more sense to reach out to.
Just get in the car.
193, so.
What was that, Christopher?
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, it definitely makes more sense to reach out to some more builders in the area directly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like you said, find out what they're paying. And then at least you'll have like a baseline calibrator too. But it sounds like, it's all math at this point, right? If what they're paying is greater than what you can do with it, great deal, right? But again, the builders are just one strategy. The next thing I would look at is what does MLS listed property go for in the area as well? Because that's the other strategy, right? When you sell it to a builder, you're selling it deeply discounted, right? That's how builders work. When you put it on the MLS, you're just selling it slightly discounted, right? Because you want it to be attractive and you want the property to move. But yeah, that's awesome. And where'd you get that, Lee? Was that from one of our campaigns?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, you know, it was.
You're like, Nick, I'm not out there door knocking landowners, so the only-
Not walking the streets.
yeah, sir, I'm looking for the owner of this lot, right? That's a good, that should be my next ad. You can't go door knocking landowners, we got the next best thing. But thank you,
He's-
Christopher. And,
Pardon me, camera.
yeah. And guys, I almost forgot to invite our, special, or to introduce our special guest stars. We do have Mason McDonald. He's back as usual. I think he's got his 4-week streak coming into play here. Not that I'm counting, Mason. I appreciate you so much for showing up and delivering content. He also has his partner, Dan, in here today. And lucky for me, they're both lead mining clients. So, I mean, I feel like the real winner on top of you guys with all this knowledge. But if you guys want to take a minute, introduce yourselves, what it is you do. I know you guys have a great service that can serve our clients if you want to touch on that. But yeah, feel free.
I'll let Dan do it since I'm here every week.
Sure. So yeah, Dan Haberkoss, Mason and I are partnered in Ground Up Partners, which is our essentially capital partner for land deals. So both Mason and I have had land acquisition and development companies for years and years, done hundreds of deals all over the country. And we found that both ourselves and everybody we knew had the same problem, which was access to capital within the land space, right? You can get a deal at 40 cents on the dollar and you can't go to the local bank or hard money lender most of the time and get that finance. So that's what we have worked to solve with Ground Up Partners. So if you have a land deal that you want to close and resell and you need the capital for it, that's what we do. And then, yeah, I've been just personally buying rental properties for years and also doing some building in my business. So that's my background. And if you have a deal to submit, it's gupland.com. Thanks, Nick.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, guys. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in and then providing value to the community. It really means a lot. Really means a lot. All right, rock and roll. All right, who do we got next? Or Kathy? I got you up here up top. What you got for us?
Everything's going well. We're finishing up a large campaign that we did with you. We met last, Wednesday, you and I did. And deals are going. We're having a little bit of kind of a strong market, where we are really, which is good for us that we're in the acquisition, but we're just having to pay more. So the
Right.
profits are smaller, but we're working them. And went on a listing appointment yesterday that was from one of your leads because it was a 2-acre parcel attached to a 3-acre parcel with a house on it. And I do residential in Georgia, but I've been trying to, stay in the land space, but that was good. It was,
Yeah.
he's just got some more cleanup to do. So that'll be a listing for me. So where we
Wow.
couldn't get the land, we'll get a house listing
Pays for a
around.
campaign. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. It's like one on the house. I had that's really great news, Kathy. I had a client use us. His name was Evan. I'll try to get him on here one day with us. And he did a house campaign. He did the 10-week Titan and he got like 35 leads, but 5 of them wanted to list. So he actually went and got his realtor license and then went back and he's a really smart kid. He literally got his license in like 4 weeks, got the license, went back, got the properties listed. And I was like, dude, that is really, really cool. But I think that's a lot to your scale. It's not always very easy to take a lead in a different direction sometimes, right? I'm sure you had to do some finessing there, or you had to change direction a little bit.
Yeah, I've been talking to him for 3 months because he lost his wife last year. So he's having to clean out. He wasn't ready to sell. And, I'm just speaking to him. He was in and out of the hospital. There was months, weeks, went by that I didn't talk to him. I thought he's gone. And it'll be about 300,000. So I mean, there's 3%, $9,000. And
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I
if I
love
had the
it.
capital, which he just mentioned, I could just buy it and flip it because it needs work.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's a deal too, is what you're saying. Right.
That's right.
Is what it sounds like as well.
That's right.
Yeah, no, very cool. Very cool. Well, no, and thank you and good job. That's awesome. A win is a win. That's for sure. All right, next up, I got Joe. Joe, what you got for us this week?
Nothing offhand. Just still working a few deals. I've actually been working a couple deals with fire damage houses, which
Okay.
this will be my fourth one this year. I've got two in the works right now. Two I've already closed. It just takes a special a special builder, but
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of good profitability in there with them. I mean, you just got to, the main structures are good, especially if they're concrete block. They're actually just like having a house that needs a complete rehab, basically,
Right.
because you're going to redo everything anyways,
right.
especially with the older style. And then especially with older houses, because you're going to redo everything anyway. So I would say not to be scared of those when you see those. You could probably get more value or more a better deal with them. So, but maybe build up a list that you have of people that will do those things, and they usually sweep in pretty quick and move quick on them.
Yeah, no, it's big. It's definitely big money. I actually know a guy who specializes in fire damage properties. If you would come across any obstacles or anything, Joe, and you want me to connect you with him, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Does he buy up here in Gainesville?
I'm not sure what his strategy is, but I'll reach out to him.
Okay. Let me know.
I will. Yeah, I'll reach out to him here.
That's all I got for this segment.
All in meeting. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, brother. And yeah, and I think it's important too, what Joe's saying about, don't come across leads, if there's a problem, the way I look at lead gen, if this is something else, someone else would shrug their shoulders at and walk away, I should probably learn it or figure it out. One of my internal philosophies is run the lead down as far as you can. Now, what I mean by that is, even if that deal doesn't close, pursue it as if it is going to close. What you're going to learn through that pursuit is going to A, teach you a lot, and B, the next time you come across a deal just like that, you're going to close it. And that's what's important. But if we delay that first educational experience, then we are never going to get to the second rewarding experience. Right. And I think that that's a mistake that we commonly do. So I know Joe mentioned in fire damage properties, that for me is the lesson in what he just said. And that is, when you see a burning building, sometimes you should run into it. Okay. And it's because the lessons that are going to come out of that could really save you. And again, they might not pay off this week or this month, but they'll definitely pay off this year is one strategy I would have. I know sometimes it can be defeating to pursue things that don't get to where they're going. But, I remember when I hated my restaurant career and I would call my father and I would say the health inspector showed up and I had to fire this guy and there was a fist fight and all this other stuff. And my dad would always just say the same thing for years. But Nick, you're getting so much experience. There's so much experience. And it's so annoying to hear that shit sometimes, It's like, no, show me the money. Okay. I don't care about the experience. But the reality is, when people meet me now and they're like, oh, how did you get here in life? And I was like, well, I front loaded my shit. I chose restaurants. I chose the worst industry. I chose 70 hours a week. If you look at my life, I put my time in. So, and what I mean by that is that if we have to put our time in no matter what, we might as well do and learn and experience and adapt as quickly as possible. And that's let me cram this in. If you're going to cram anything, let it be all that experience. So super cool, Joe. And, to anyone else, don't shy away. If you need the encouragement, give me a call. Like I said, I don't know shit about fire damage properties, but with 15,000 clients over 7 years, someone does. and I've spoken to them before, and all I got to do is connect you guys. So don't hesitate. And if you need some support, I'm right here for you. All right, Casey, you're up next, my man. What you got for us? You'll find that.
Hey, I'm just here to observe. We still haven't taken the jump to talk with you yet and get started, but we are on the cusp of it. We've been reorganizing our systems so that we have better follow-up with our leads, because that's, as Kathy noted earlier, like the land industry, which is what we're in, has gotten a little bit tighter in things, and we didn't used to follow up with people nearly as much, the sellers. So
Right.
we're tightening those reins in and having a good follow-up system set up. And then we cannot wait to get our first campaign set up with you guys and see the results. We're kind of excited. It's a new territory,
No, rock and
territory
roll.
for us.
Rock and roll. And it's cool that you're knocking out your follow-up. You're going to respect where the lead comes in, and I think that's what this all comes down to is respecting the lead.
Mhm.
I've been having this conversation that's popped up time and time again with clients. Do you have any advice for me? That's what everyone asks, right? Before they hang up the phone. What you got for me, man? Go ahead. Tell me what's going to make me rich. Okay. And, and I just have one tip, and it is I relate it to relationships, but if you get a lead, don't badmouth that lead in your head. It's literally that simple. Just like any relationship, I'll choose a real relationship. But it's like if I have a problem with my girlfriend and all I do is think about how this is such a big problem for me and how I don't like this behavior, the next time I meet her, it's not going to go well. Guaranteed. And that works with every relationship, whether it's your boss or your mother or your brother. If you focus on the negatives of anything, it's going to cause that. It's going to cause that interruption. And if you focus on the positives, then your next interaction, it's going to be a little bit more uplifting. So it's cool that you're talking about the follow-up, because you're already talking about taking that proactive, uplifting approach, and what's important about follow-up is first, you're going to create your core strategy, right? Then
Right.
after you create your core strategy, loopholes are going to start popping up. Oh, this one's an infill lot. Oh, this one doesn't have road access. Oh, this one. And then that's where the real fun begins, right? And that's when, instead of going like we mentioned earlier with the fire, oh, I've never heard of that before, I'm not going to pursue that. No, actually, you know what? I need to create another strategy off of my follow-up process. I've never heard of fire damage property. Now I need to create the fire damage property follow-up. And so the beauty of what you're doing is you are setting up, you're fortifying your systems. The potential downside is analysis paralysis sometimes can. Yeah, exactly. Right. You're like, it's not perfect. These text messages aren't perfect, right? So that's the downside. Me personally, I want to build the plane while we're flying it. But I totally respect the people that want to build the plane first, then fly it. What I will just say is make sure it takes off one day, right? Because we can get so obsessed. I'm not necessarily talking directly to you, Casey, but just in general, we have this perfectionist in us, and we say, I can only start when this happens. I'm only ready when this thing goes down. And that will just delay our success, when the reality is starting, and then paying attention and making adaptations is golden.
These are our adaptations.
It's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for all that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, hey, just to brag for a second, we sold 5 properties in the last week. So our inventory went down.
Wow.
So Nicholas, we need you. We need you to help us.
It's time we got to fill those back up. Now, I remember you saying you had several properties. Didn't at one point you say you had several properties and you were struggling moving them? Was that?
Yeah, the levee broke. It's
Yeah.
you kind of alluded to pricing and everything earlier. And I think we're just expecting a little much out of them. The market keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And we just, I realized one day we were declining offers because we were countering. I never say no. I say,
Right.
how about this instead? That's one of my
Right.
things. I'll never say no. Give me an offer. Well, what I was getting was offers that were like, chink, 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 a mere
Right.
pittance. So I was like, no, we realized we were telling the universe no to all these offers when we should just go ahead and accept one, even if it's a little low, there's still profit in it. We did
Right.
that and the floodgates opened and we got literally within days, multiple properties sold.
Wow. Wow.
Like you said, it's all perspective.
I
Like,
was
don't
just-
come at it from this angle, come at it from that angle. Hey, it's a
Yeah.
sale. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, no, and let me tell you, I just had this chat with Mason, me and Mason and Dan, we're thinking about teaming up and how can we build this great service that latches onto lead mining. The very next day, a customer calls me and asks for the exact service Mason and I spoke about, you know? And so when this happens, it is like, wow, like this is, you know, it goes to show, like you said, it's a breadcrumb that you're on the right pathway. And, you know, to your point, you know, profit's profit at a certain point. You know, there is a point where it's like, hey, and you know what? It feels good. Mental anguish. I had a chat with Joe earlier when he called, and let me tell you, old Nick says yes to everything. Motherfucking everything, you know? And then at the end of the day, I have no bandwidth. I have no emotional standing. I'm just like, I'm just gone because I've said yes to so much. New Nick, man, I'm saying no to everything. At least the first time we talk about it. Because you know what? I can make it yes tomorrow. Okay. But I don't want to say yes today and make it no tomorrow. Right. That sucks. But
Yeah.
so like my new strategy is to really flip that to help protect my energy too. Because that's one of my big problems is I'll take on too much. Like I was about to buy a property in Georgia, but I've got this really big expense coming up and I lift this house. And I was like, you know what? If one thing goes wrong on that Georgia property, it's going to piss me off because I'm too close to the wire on net cash flow. And it's like, you know, I don't even want to risk. The Georgia property was such a good deal, but I didn't even want to risk upsetting my mindset just for a little bit of finances in the bank. Cause I've done that before, you know, and I know it's different, you know, and I created that hobby because I used to have such little money that every $100 a month come up did mean so much. It does mean so much for so long. Now I'm at a point where I'm like, if I think about anything that only makes me $100 a month, like that is a waste of my mental bandwidth. But there was a time when I literally, I had all these little things going on in my life where I'm just making 50 to $100 a month on all these different angles. But we don't realize sometimes how that drains our bandwidth.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thanks for being here. Were you ever on the radio, Casey?
That was Casey Kasem.
Yeah, you have such a buttery voice, bro. I don't know if your microphone is made good, but you definitely have a voice for radio.
That's funny. I've been told I have the face for radio, so I appreciate, this is actually a compliment, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Only one of those is a compliment. I'm just kidding. But that's hilarious. Thank you, Casey. All right, Francisco, what's up, dude? How's life? How's everything going in your business?
Everything's going good. I'm actually like rebuilding my vacant land engine. So some people that were talking about systems and automations, I'm over here like engineering a master plan. But yeah, I'm just gearing up to just do some more marketing in that aspect. Everything's rocking and rolling with lead mining as always. And yeah, I got some updates for you for the Ukrainian devs as well too that we could chat
Okay, great.
offline about. But yeah.
Great. Rock and roll. All right, cool, man. Yeah, and thanks for being here, dude. All right, next up, I see Regina as well. Regina, you with us? You got any questions for us? And you guys can also raise your hand too if anyone has a question. Actually, no, I did. She put it down. But I did see that Joy had her hand raised earlier. Joy, do you still have a question for us?
Yeah, I always have questions.
Yes,
Um,
you
I always have questions, always something to learn, something to ask. Actually earlier when I believe it was Kathy when she was speaking, she was speaking a little bit about pivoting from land to houses. And I think last week I alluded to this. If you had any investors that as part of their strategy, they looked at homes with acreage, and then they approached land from that perspective and if they found any success with that. That was one of my questions, and I'll just throw out my second one. We don't have to address both of them today, but last week I was thinking about land with structures.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, whatever the land is, you find sometimes they have structures, and I just wanted to know, like, with the experience that some of you have had, what are some of the structures that were problematic? And what were some of the things you had to kind of do to get the deal done?
Awesome. So I'm going to interject and then we'll let some of the pros in here chime in. I love that you mentioned that. Okay. I think that the biggest complaint I get from our clients is this piece of land has a structure on it. Right. And I hate that complaint because I feel like it's like looking a gift horse in the mouth in a sense. Now, on the flip side is you want to talk about a blue ocean opportunity, like we were talking last week about lots with no road access. If you can figure that out, you just open up a whole new lake. Same exact thing exists with land with structures on it. Imagine if every time a customer complained to me about, I wish I didn't get this lead, I said, hey, call my girl Joy. She knows exactly what to do and she'll help you out if there's a deal. That's a total shift in perspective. So I'll let Mason or Francisco or Dan answer the question about obstacles that they've run into with structures. But I do think it's really important to find the leads that other people are throwing away and be the person for those leads. That is a huge money-making opportunity if you can figure out that obstacle that everyone else is avoiding. But I'll digress.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're in a market where tear downs for infill lots are popular, that could be kind of like a niche that is, not necessarily explored too often. I know firsthand experience in Tampa. There was a builder named Domain Homes, and Domain Homes got really popular because what their whole business model consisted of finding old properties that were built between like 1900 to like 1930. They will tear it down and then they'll build 2 houses on the lot, right? So if you're in a market where like builders do that type of work, I would say definitely explore and, take advantage of the opportunity because those deals do have some, pretty nice returns if you could structure it correctly. And I'm currently in the process of doing a deal like that right now in Tampa where it's a probate situation. The house was built in like 1930 and they just want to get rid of it. And they're basically just selling it for land value. And the builder's willing to pay a premium for it because it's in a prime area. So I would definitely explore it if your market can, bear that, or if there's people that are in that market that are looking for those specific things.
Yeah, good answer. Mason, Dan, you guys have any experience with dealing with land with structures and obstacles or goodies that have come out of that?
It's not really a part of either of our business model, but with that being said, depending on the area and the county, and the ease and simplicity of the process, if you can get land with a tear down house or just a regular house on it, and can go through a simple minor subdivision process of there's plenty of lots where if you look in the history of it, it's like lot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is what the legal description of it is. You can buy it and then, split off the house and resell the house or keep the house as a rental and then sell off each individual lot or go vertical with it. So it's a strategy that I don't employ in my business, but definitely something where there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for it. So you can become the expert, Joy.
Well, and so my question, I have another question too, just because I'm pretty ignorant. Why are people avoiding land with structures on it? Is it because of the obstacle? Is it because of what you just explained, Mason, where it is it's not like bam, bam, right? So is there just a gap of effort?
For
So
us, sorry, I'll go ahead.
I think for me, it's potential tax implications of it, with just doing land within the company that I primarily operate in, it's all taxed as inventory. and I'm considered a dealer. So the way my entity is structured, which is just an LLC with S corp status, I don't really have to worry about paying capital gains taxes, and I haven't explored whether or not if I were to purchase land that already has a physical asset on it, whether or not I would be hit with capital gains taxes.
it.
So it's not that, if you make enough money, like who cares? Like pay Uncle Sam, it's fine. But that's part of the reason I haven't seriously approached this strategy.
Got it. Yeah, so yeah,
And something, oh, yeah, it's something
The
I
other
just,
side of that is with the structures, sometimes it's just the cost of tearing it down.
That's
One,
what I was gonna
and
say,
then
Joe. Yeah,
cost
we
of
ran
tearing
into
it
one that was
down.
a mobile home and just the cost to get rid of it because you had to do a certain thing to it to remove it.
messes
That's
with the
all
deal.
I was gonna say. But
Messes
Joy,
with the deal.
it's doable. It's a couple phone calls. Just call the county and see, once you know what's on it, what they require, because there's certain places, that require a certain way for it to be demolished. But yeah, I'd go for it.
and what I
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean, the other aspect is making sure they can put what you can put back on it. Just because there's mobile hire before, they'd be like, oh, nope, only houses can be in that, single family homes can be in that area. But also I see the downfall is people ask for too much with the structures. That they don't get the land value, understanding land value. So maybe that's something
Yeah, so that's the other.
educate yourself on, explaining that as land value. Folks, it's land value at this point. I gotta take tearing down the building, which is minus your cost on those things.
Got it. And Dan, what were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is the context, right? I mean, I think it's analogous to failed perk test, right? If you're in a cheap market, then the lot's worthless. If you're in an expensive market, a failed perk test means very little. It's always solvable. And so how much demand there is and what supply is available is really the question. So I might have missed that. I don't know if you said where this is at, but I was ironically reading one of my guys has a deal here in a very hot part of Florida next to one of the major metros, and it's like 46 acres. It's got a shitty house on it and a barn. And in this context, I don't care. There's so much demand there. There's almost nothing available, and there's almost nothing this big. And so we're going to pursue that lead because people want the land here so much that they're willing to put up with doing the scrape and handling what's there, or
Right.
with the size of this, potentially even just kind of leaving it. But anyway, so did you say what part of the country it's in? Is this a really hot market? Are there other lots available? What does that look like as far as supply and demand?
It's not so much of, I mean, I do have a lead that I am looking at, but it's a very, very, very very cold lead, and it's in Wisconsin, and it's like on 200 acres. They have a ton of, I mean, it's still not clear what is available for sale versus what's not, and so I'm just trying to understand, he made reference to a barn, he made reference to storage units, he made reference to a house, and it's just like, okay, on 200 acres, you're right, it may mean absolutely nothing.
Yep.
But in context of maybe he's only looking to sell me part of it, I just want to know, like, should I even pursue the land that has those structures? And what would be some of the barriers or some of the things to think about that maybe I just don't see because I haven't done any of these type of deals before. So I just wanted to just pick your brain.
Gotcha. Yeah. So like if you look, Mason and I both have lived in Colorado for years. And if you look in Eastern Colorado, it's very normal to see ranches sold off where they still have the old house and the barn on it or shed or whatever, maybe a pasture for horses. And so in that context of 200 acres, that's way more normal. I'd call around to some realtors. I bet that those sell with the house and barn. You probably don't have to do anything, and it just comes down to price a lot of the time, or every time.
Sounds good.
Awesome. And then I did see Cynthia. Cynthia, you got your hand up. Probably our last question of the day, as much as I talk. But
Hello, everyone.
Mm.
Yeah, it's funny to follow Joy because that's kind of about the focus of my question as well. I was searching in Arizona and I found some property. It was a house listed for sale. And then when I inquired about it, he mentioned that it's actually sitting on 8 acres. So he's asking $300,000 for the home, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it's but you know, the house is not attractive. It's like they just put a house on there. So my next question was to, you know, contact the county to see what is allowed on their, on that acreage. And then, you know, try to see if there's a buyer that's interested. I also asked him if he was flexible on the price, but my question that's just keeps going off in my mind is that, you know, is the house really worth 300,000? Because it's not built like, you know, a home that you would expect for 300,000. It was like maybe a 2-bedroom was built and then they added another part to make more, you know, space for the kids and that type of thing. But what do you, but you know, is it based on the improved property that's really not that attractive? Or is it on the land value? Or do you say the 7 acres on the land value and have to parcel out that one improvement?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, is I do think it's smart to, like, if you were to reverse construct it, like if there is a property there, maybe instead of taking it
Mhm.
at their value, you take it at build value, right? Like, hey, like that property would cost $70,000 to build.
Okay,
Right, you know,
okay.
so it's like, so, and you know, there really is nothing special, you know, I could tell you just put it on the land. So I know
Mhm.
that you think the $70,000 build equals $300,000 in value, but you know, I'm really in my world, that's only $70,000 worth of value because
Okay.
it's not beautifully remodeled. There is no selling point to it at the moment, right? So that would be just a interesting negotiation strategy
Sure.
if nothing else, right? Just to maybe logically, without being rude, allow them to see what you're seeing,
Okay.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
as a preface. But I know you had a second part to your question. I'll let the other guys chime in for that. And the second, what was the second part of your question? Oh, it was, what do you think would be the best strategy to do with it? Would it be to isolate the parcel and then just split up the 8 acres and then just
Mhm.
sell them all individually? Was that the question?
Yeah. Would that be an approach? You know, 7 acres and parcel that part off, you know, and not, you know, maybe like say if he's not reasonable, then say, well, would you sell the 7 acres?
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So then
If
you're
the
like,
county will allow that to be segregated that way too.
got it.
There's a lot of questions on there, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that like a lot of the answers today are just a little bit of additional research, right? But I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
that um seeing a couple things, you know, you may there's a couple strategies. One, you could pursue the split of this parcel, right? And
Mhm.
I think if you're
Yeah.
the one that pursues it, pursue it all the way. Get all 7 acres already pre-chopped up. If they're going to chop up this one for you, you might as
Mhm.
well get them to chop up all 7 for you, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of the first thing I see. So when you investigate, think about building rapport with this person, seeing what the county will do, and then pushing that as far as you can. That way, you don't have to get it and then split it again, right? So that would be one avenue I would go about. And the other one would be, if this price is too unreasonable, honestly, I think just offering to separate it is another negotiation tactic. Somebody might be like, no, 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 I want to sell them all together. Okay, well, I can't pay that, right? That doesn't make sense, right? We got 7 acres going for 25,000, right? I can't spend 1 acre and a $70,000 house and for 1,000% that amount, right? Kind of thing. So it sounds like a couple of these, a little bit of homework on the county side, and
Mhm.
then a little bit of, it doesn't seem like negotiation, but kind of like these negotiation strategies to let the homeowner know, hey, this is what I'm seeing. That still doesn't work. Okay, we'll split it off. Does that work? If that works, then we're good. But he's still understanding that you're saying no to his deal in a creative way while still saying yes
Yeah.
to the other half.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome. And rock and roll, guys. So any other final questions before we go? I can't believe how fast these hours fly. It's probably because I'm standing up. That's a big part of my secret. This really helps the time fly. But any other questions before I get out of here? Or anything you guys need from me? All right, well, I guess that's what I
Thank
like.
you.
That's not really what I like to hear, but that's what I like to hear if everyone's satisfied. But thank you guys so much. I'll see you next Tuesday, and I really can't thank you enough for showing up with us. See ya.
Thanks so much, Nick.
you.
That was, all right, bye-bye.
See ya.